Hey everybody, The Real Behemoth here, back in with another video for Heroes of History. Today is going to be video 3 of our new player guide series. So, we've already gone over elemental advantages and disadvantages, and then we've talked about hero types and a little bit into skill types as well. Now, moving forward, we're going to be looking into formations. So formations are very, very important when creating your team compositions to battle against your opponents. Regardless of whatever mode you're going in, you're going to want a mix of specific hero types. So you're going to want defenders. In some cases, you're going to want single strikers. You're going to want some support units, some area attackers, etc. So, before we really jump into the video, I want to go ahead and show you guys what a good team composition and team type would look like. How will you know when you've created a good team? Well, if you look at this formation here, what do we have? We have tanks. So we have our Hercules and we've got our Auto. Auto is going to be our taunting tank. Meanwhile, our Hercules is going to be our off tank. We have Medusa. So we have damage and crowd control. So she's a little bit of support and damage. We've got our support unit. We've got our accuracy debuff. And we have a healer to make sure that our units stay alive. So why did I place our heroes where I did? So Auto backline, he can go either on the back right or the back left. I placed him here to gather all the entire groups of these heroes. So it looks like we've got some infantry. It looks like we've got some cavalry. He's going to pull everything into that back line. It's going to give the rest of my team a lot of time in order to continue rushing their abilities and saving up and progressing for their abilities to pop. I placed Hercules here as our off tank. He's really used more so for crowd control in this scenario. If Auto is in the front, Hercules has to rush up with him and is going to be behind Auto, right? In terms of movement speed, in terms of getting to that front line enemies. Whereas if I place Auto in the back, the enemies are all going to rush right over Hercules, and Hercules is going to be able to stun them. Along with that, we've got our area attacker / damage dealer, Medusa. So Medusa is going to be dishing her poison and also stunning. And then we have our accuracy debuff here and our healer over here. Our accuracy debuff, I use Franklin as a partial off tank in this scenario, but you're not going to see him tank any because we've got Auto taunting. So let's jump into this and show you guys exactly how this works. I'm going to throw on Auto here. Auto is going to taunt. He's going to pull. We're going to take off Auto, and we're going to go ahead and use Medusa. Medusa is going to absolutely wipe them all out. We're going to use Auto again. His cooldown is very quick. We're going to use Hercules to stun. Before their stun pops off, we're going to make sure that they're taken care of with their debuff. Auto is going to taunt, and we have Medusa to clean up the rest. So that's a primary example of what a good team comp would look like. Obviously, this is Master 2 and Treasure Hunt. And if we look at some of the stats, obviously Medusa is the MVP there. She's my damage dealer for this team. Well, you notice that typically in some of these scenarios, Auto is going to die. Auto is going to die. Not on this team specifically, but Auto is going to die. And the reason being because he's a low-level tank for this type of level. If you look at some of these boss fights and these mob levels, we're looking at level 113 minions. Well, I don't know if you guys know, but Auto caps at level 60. So, with that being said, in a lot of those scenarios, under team comps that aren't going to be synergistic and that aren't going to be, correct, he's going to die. So keeping him alive is a really good indicator as to whether or not you've had a solid team or not. Now, jumping into something like a campaign. right? We can go something very early. Let's just go something very, very early gameplay for you guys. Let's go into 15, for example. You guys have every ability to use your 2-star and 3-star heroes. So let's go ahead and jump into 3-star and 2-star heroes. Let's just kind of go around. So we've got our tank type and damage dealer. We have our support unit as Eric the Red, our attack buffer. We have our healer as Naya. We've got Hassan Pasha. He's going to be our taunting tank. And then who else should we throw in here? Let's throw in another good example for 2 stars. Let's throw in Chiome. So Eric the Red, in his specific placement, if you read his ability, he will support your units in a range of 2. He needs to be placed in this back middle section in order to get his buff to every single teammate. Well, as our taunting tank is on this side, we're going to place our single target damage dealer over here. She's not going to see a lot of damage. And we've got our AoE or area attacker over here. It's going to pull with Hassan's skill. We're going to go ahead and buff with Eric. We're going to taunt with Hassan. We're going to use our Leonidas. And it's pretty much a wipe, right? I mean, this is probably too easy of a level considering I'm one-shotting and everything. But you guys can kind of see the mindset in which you create your teams. You're going to want a little bit of a mix across the board. So taunt, we're going to use Chiome. We're going to use our heals. And so you can see there, even with 2-star, even with 3 stars, you can progress pretty far and pretty deep into the campaign. Now, in some scenarios, you know, you're pulling specific aggros, right? So you're pulling the enemy's aggro. So in this case, we have a taunting tank. And so, yeah, he's going to pull everybody in. If you don't have a taunting tank, formations are still very important. And a lot of it is also based on cavalry, siege, infantry, etc. So make sure that you're placing your heroes accordingly and swap something up. If you feel very close to beating a campaign level, you know, and Eric is pulling specific heroes because of his cavalry units, you can feel free to move them around and find what works for you for that specific level. Now, jumping into something like a Tesla level, right? You can still absolutely use 2-star, 3-star heroes. What you don't want to do is run somebody like a Benjamin Franklin in this scenario, right? You want damage dealers in Tesla. You want damage dealers and people that are going to help you survive or buff your team so you can kill Tesla quicker. You don't want a Benjamin Franklin. His debuffs don't work against the boss. They work against the minions, but the minions aren't going to be what your primary focus is on. You're going to want to deal damage to that boss. So you want heroes like a Spartacus, like a Musashi, like a Chiome, you know, or a Mansa Musa to buff. Having units in here like Otto, like Benjamin Franklin, like Oracle, or Confucius. You know, you can have these guys in here because they buff your team, but their debuffs against the enemies, or against the Tesla boss, is not going to work. You know, another good example would be on, let's say, the light side. You know, in a previous video, we talked about Cleopatra and Jane. So, as you can see here, these are the heroes that I use to 5-star or to 3-star this level 15 level. I did not use King Minos, even though he's my highest leveled or powered hero. I did not use Cleopatra. I didn't use Tomo. I didn't use Beethoven. I used a 2-star. I used a couple 5-stars. You know, but you can really progress very far not using any of these 5-stars as well. So taking all these 5-stars out, you can use some. You could use Tomo. She does okay damage, and she has a little bit of a bleed on her later abilities, so her bleed will work against the Tesla boss. We've got Kandake, Inanna, you know, and you know if you wanted to sub Tomo out, you can take her out, throw Mr. Bald Guy in. You know, maxing those 2-stars, you should be able to beat 13 pretty easily. You know, with a little bit of heals. But That's a good example as to why formations matter, right? When we're looking into the game, formations are one of the key components to why you'll win in the game. Arena is the other aspect in which team comp is absolutely important. You know, when versing something like this, having somebody like Cleopatra is going to become crucial, right? Well, they have two frontline units. So two frontline units means they're just going to do damage against each other once my Cleopatra mind controls them. So I personally love when everybody throws a bunch of melee type units in Arena. There are some team comps with 3. There are some team comps with 4. They just kill themselves off very easily. So keep everything in mind when you're creating your formations. Formations and hero placements is absolutely important. Mess around with it a little bit. Find what works for you, and it'll help your progression significantly in the game. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.